Hey guys, Jeff here with Ghost Night Gaming, and I'm joined by my daughter Lillian here. Yeah, so up for another cosplay vlog here, and it's going to be kind of a two-part thing. I'm going to gab at you guys for a couple of minutes here, and then I'm actually going to show you something that we're working on for something that she's doing, following along that Legend of Zelda cosplay that I've been working on for the better part of the last 3 or 4 months. So, just kind of an update of what I got going on. So I've sanded down my harp. It's hard to see here, but if you check out my Facebook page and my Instagram, I have posted some pictures of that. So I've kind of cleaned some of the edges, added a little bit of depth to the edges. Definitely next time I do this, because I'm going to do a full tutorial build of this guy from start to finish. I'm hoping I'll have a better look of it at that point once I've kind of had a better chance to finish this up. I've sanded down as much as I could, kind of cleaning up. I've also started, as you can see, there's all these white spots here. This is where I've started to fill any of the defects in the foam itself, or started cleaning up my connection lines where I've connected the foam so that it actually fills and will look a whole lot smoother. I'm hoping once I put my base coat on, that'll smooth it out even further, so that it gets. But if you're wondering how I filled those holes and filled it up so that way, you know, because I had this huge gash here, so hopefully once I'm done, I may have to add some more in that one before but I have a couple of gashes in here, and I've filled those in so that it doesn't look like, it's had massive gashes, or the fact that I've missed with my Dremel. I've actually used Quick Seal. So, well, it's upside down. Quick Seal! Use that and actually fill in the spots. And I'll actually show you that really super quick here. I'll stop making a mess. Because I've got one spot where it's actually not bad, but both could be filled just a little bit better. So basically what you do is you take this bad boy here, and you just actually, and I've got this guy to spread it, but you can use like an old used up blade knife, but you put a bit in that spot that you need to fix, and you just do like you would for just about anything else. You just kind of quickly run it in there and fill in the spot, scrape off as much of the excess as you can. I don't have my water dish with me, it's somewhere here because I was working on this the other day, but you set that in there because it tends to shrink when it dries, so sometimes you may have to apply it a couple of times. You get it right in there. Let me need more. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you get it right in there. You fill that hole up, and you just let it sit. It doesn't take long to set, so you very quickly sit there and do the next layer. It doesn't take as long as some of the other processes you're going to be going through, but hey, so yeah, so there's that. I've also been working on my helmet, doing the same thing, same process here. Getting ready to figure out what I'm going to do for the plume, because I'm going to have a nice plume coming off of it, probably gold hair or something like that. And then I'm actually also going to add some trim. Still haven't fixed up the helmet. I wanted to add some pieces in here so that I can actually make this go in more and stay more, because just messing with the foam just isn't quite getting the look I want. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the bottom part. I've actually taken tie wire, basically what rebar guys use for their stuff. I've taken that and actually put it in a lining and used some craft foam to cover it, so that I'm not directly contacting, this metal all the time and scraping my face. And just create a little lining inside that I can actually better mold and twist with the helmet, so that I can, kind of mold the bottom of the helmet the way I want to get that look I want. So now all I got to do is to do the same thing to this piece and this piece here, and I'll be able to fold those in a little bit better, and that'll actually sit nicely. And then I'm going to add some trimming out here, just to add to the look, right around all these points here, so that'll add neatly trimmed. That'll actually be the trim that I want to keep on there. And then this guy's pretty much ready to be primed and painted. And we'll have a finished helm here. The only other thing I need to do this, and I can do this pretty much at any point, is actually add some foam, kind of like a bike helmet foam and stuff like that inside, to better sit this on my head, so that it's a little bit more comfortable for me. I'm going to add more glue to that spot. Yeah, so that way it doesn't keep folding down over my eyes, and then I can't see, and then horrible things happen, and she doesn't keep laughing at me in the back corner here. So that's what I'm working on there. I'm hoping to actually do more with the armor. I haven't really touched it in the last little while. So I got to get to actually doing some more stuff with the armor, so that hasn't been touched. And I got more props in the works, trying to finish up shield. I've cut the, I've sanded the sword to get the edges. They're not great, but it'll do. He's a 2-year-old. He's not overly picky. As long as he gets a sword to wave at his sisters, I don't think he cares. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. But in this next half here, she's actually working on, we did some measuring and stuff for that, for some leg guards for her. So we're going to kind of show you the process of what she's got to do to draw the template for that, because we haven't done that yet. And to actually draw the template out and cut it out onto foam and finish it up, or get the base part of it finished up. So stay tuned for the second half of this, and we will actually do that, and I'll kind of explain the process as she works, and basically how she kind of figures out the measuring for when you want to do this. If you don't have the ability, especially if you're working by yourself, the ability to sit there and wrap yourself up and stuff to try to measure and that kind of stuff, if you want to just do the measurements, and it actually works out for the most part with a bit of trial and error, not too badly, as long as you got one of these bad boys. This'll help. It's it's actually a seamstress tape, measuring tape. It's great because it curves, all that fun stuff. All right, so coming up is that little piece of work. Have fun, guys, and get ready for fun. Okay, guys, so here we are. We're getting ready to actually make this piece of armor. So what I've done is I've measured her at various points on the leg. Top of the leg just below the knee to the bottom of her calf. We're looking at how wide it needs to go around. And so now that we've got our measurements, the easiest way to do this is do it as a half template. You don't want to try to draw the whole leg guard as a whole, just because of trying to match that symmetry on both sides can be very difficult to do. So best thing to do is start with your center line, right? So for our center line for her purchase, it's 12 inches is what we're going to look at. So we're going to use this nice bad boy here and draw our center line. All right, so now that we've got our center point, we're going to take a look at our different points and figure out what we're going to do from there. So we want we're looking at measuring like our high point, right? And we're going to measure our low points, as well as the widest point on the bracer, which is going to be largely where your main calf muscle sits as you go around. So when you take a look at that, what you want to do is you look at your, and if you've got one of these guys, this is going to make your life a whole lot easier, because it's going to allow you to basically do this. You figure out, and we're looking at the high point right now, and the high point on it is going to be about 4 inches, because we're taking half of what the total measurement was. So you line this guy up with its, with your main line here, right? And then you draw wherever your high point. So our high point is 4 inches down and 4 inches out. So now that she's got her high point, she can look at her two low points to measure out, and then she can start actually drawing in the final lines. So her high point, it's 6 inches around normally, so we're going to look for the 3-inch point. And we're going to want to line that up, and we also want to make sure when we line it up, we line up at the top as well. All right, so we got our top point, because then we're actually because we don't need any fancy curving on our top point. We're going to get that lined up right there, just like so. You can see it's lined up, and we're going to draw across that top point. So when we draw, we always want to remember to draw into our measuring. Otherwise, we end up being too high. So we're actually too high on that right now. There we go. So until you get really good at this, a lot of times, even when I sit there and I'm doing a lot of this templating myself, I end up redrawing, and you're going to end up drawing it. So doing your initial lines in pencil is going to save yourself a ton of grief. All right. So, and then you can draw your nice line in there. because you're going to be erasing a lot of stuff. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at our low point. So our low point is going to be at the bottom of our armor, and we're actually going to have to turn this guy around just to make this easier for us. And is actually, the whole length is 4.5 inches. So we're going to have to figure out what 4.5 divided in half is, which is 2.25. So we'll look at this, and we're going to line up. Now this is going to be a little bit more funky here, but what we can actually do is we can line up with our bottom point and actually line up with our top line to get our measurement kind of cleaned up here. And we're actually going to sit there, and so we're going to go 2.25, which is right here. One right in here. Yep. Yep, the solid line. There you go. And then we can either draw that or we can play with that from there. Okay, so once we've got those figured out, now we can actually start finding out where we want to do our curve for the armor. So now that we've got this, we can draw this one in, because if we want a bit of a curve on it, we can draw that in, or if we want a straight line, we draw the straight line. Perfect. So now that we've got that figured out, it's getting the curves and the lines for here. Now, since this armor is going to be considerably more curved looking, we don't want straight, sharp angles. What she's going to have to do at this point is actually draw her curve going up to this line and down to this mark here. And voila, so there's the top mark, and then we want to mark our second mark. So we want to keep that, that nice flowing angular line as we go about, because we still don't want to have too much in the way of sharpness with this armor. Now, as you're doing a lot of this stuff, and this is where a lot of times you'll run into a bit of dilemma, is getting those curves that you want to kind of create that sweeping look with a lot of your armor. And some of it is going to be trial and error to get that look you want, whether you're looking to be accurate to the original design or not. So when we come back, we're going to have this template cut out, and then we are going to actually show you the process of applying this to foam and cutting that out and getting ready to do the base shaping. And you can take a look at what it looks like at this point. All right, guys, we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, guys, so we're back. We've got the pattern drawn out, as you can see here. The only step I kind of forgot in there is actually labeling the pattern. And we can do that at a later point. But basically what we're going to do now is we're going to apply that pattern to our foam that we've got here for this armor. Now, she doesn't need super thick foam for this, and in a perfect world, I'd probably also be using Warbler for this. But we're just using very thin crafting foam for now. It's not the super thin stuff that you can get at Michael's, but this stuff is not too bad. I actually picked up this stuff at Jus Be Cos, and I'll actually have a link for them. So if you're in Alberta, it's a great place to get foam, other cosplay supplies, pardon me. So yeah, check them out. So what she's going to do first is she's actually going to pin the template into the foam. Now you don't have to quite, you can just pin at the corners here. So she's applying a lot of the same stuff she does with some of her sewing stuff here. And we don't have to pin it at an angle like we would for a fabric template. We can actually just pin straight down, because all we want is for this template not to move. Right? So now she's going to pin all of her corners, and depending on how intricate your template is going to affect how much, how many times you actually have to pin your template in place. All right. So, and the main reason we're doing this, the pinning, is it actually helps deal with your template moving while you're trying to draw it onto your foam. Now, because we're using black foam for this, I've actually picked up a silver Sharpie so that I can, when we draw our lines, they're actually visible. So now, once she's done pinning everything in place and not stabbing herself with the pins, we are now going to actually grab our Sharpie and we're going to draw our template to it. All right. As you see, we want nice clean lines because that's going to be our cutting lines. When you draw your templates, you're going to want to cut inside your drawing lines. So you kind of don't want to have them wonky and all over the place. So taking your time, making sure that your cuts are nice and clean on your template, so that way you don't get random imperfections as you're drawing your template, will save yourself a lot of time. And especially if it's a piece that needs to attach to other pieces, a whole bunch of sanding for the process of actually drawing, actually attaching that to the other template. So we're drawing our lines nice and carefully here. Now, because this is actually two halves of a piece armor, so all we're going to do here is I'm going to quickly clean up one line here. There we go, and that's a nice clean line. So we're going to remove the pins, and we're actually going to flip this template over, because this is going to be the two halves of the template. That way we get a symmetrical look without having to try to draw a huge big piece. It saves you on space and on your template for how it looks. So what you're going to do is you want to line it up on the inside line of your original drawing. So we want to line it up, and we actually line it so that it's on the inside of that piece, like so. So now that it's lined up on that inside, we're going to want to pin again, so just pin straight down. It doesn't have to go all the way in, just enough that this isn't going to move around. So we're going to have to pin this top point here as well. This is actually why sometimes I like pinning my, especially on the thinner foam, pinning my templates on my carpet, because my carpet is relatively thick, so I can actually pin right into the carpet and it's not going to go anywhere. And then all we're going to do now is we're going to draw all the lines for the other half of the bracer, or sorry, the leg guard. So we don't have to draw our center line anymore, it's just all our outside lines that we want to get. Perfect. Alright, so now we're going to remove our template, and we are going to take a look at actually how we're going to cut this piece out. So when we're cutting, we want to make sure that we're using a nice, good, sharp knife, because we want to make those lines nice and clean. Okay, so now we've got our whole template. That is our whole completed template there. So now all we're going to do here is we're going to use one of these bad boys here. Right now my blade is not as great as I would like it to be. It's got to get cleaned and sharpened a bit better, but it will serve for a purpose. So when we cut, we want to cut nice and straight down. We can go right to the cutting mat. That's the whole point behind having that cutting mat there, so we might as well use and abuse it. Make sure we don't have anything underneath, like a certain harp template. I'm going to get that out of the way. Alright, so we're going to want to stand up for this, because it'll be a whole lot easier to do standing up. So we want to be over top of it. So we're going to grab our knife and we're going to look at our lines. So we want to start at various points, and we're going to cut along the inside of our line. Alright, because otherwise our template will be really big. Okay. Cut nice and straight. And take our time, because we don't want to rush this. Right, there we go. So we got our first line cut here. I want to make sure it's nice and straight down. because we want to make sure that our cut isn't quite at an angle. We don't want to bevel this armor here. We're going to take our time, cut along our line there. Alright, so we've cut out the template so far, and all we're going to do is we're going to take a look at shaping. So obviously I can't just slap this on the leg and just hope for the best. So what we want to do with that is we're going to take this and we're going to grab our heat gun. Bad boy hanging up in the ceiling. I may have to actually give her a hand. I put it way up. Okay, and we're going to take our foam, alright, and I'm going to get her to hold the camera. Pardon the bit here. So with the heat gun, I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to apply the heat to it. Right? I don't want to go really just stick it to it, because then I'm going to burn my foam. I'm going to go across it. Right? And you can actually see that it's slightly changing color, because what's happening is the foam is actually closing up, which will also make it easier later for sealing and stuff, because it actually won't, it'll soak it better. Alright, so this stuff is nice and light, but you want to make sure, you want to be careful, you don't want to burn yourself while you're doing this, so if you're concerned about your hands, grab gloves. I recommend that for most people. I'm not being a very good example on that, but, you know, apply it. You can see that the foam is actually getting like almost like jellyfish malleable here. So, okay, so I've done that. That away. Now it's actually more moldable, so what I'm going to actually do, curl this up like this. I'm just going to let it sit for a bit. Alright. Alright, so now the great thing about this stuff, once it's all primed and painted and stuff, it's actually going to be fairly flexible, so it's actually going to sit around her leg nice and good. So that's going to go around. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you what it looks like on the leg. Alright, so we're going to grab our crafter's leg. It's just going to actually sit it on the leg, so you can actually see where it sits. Alright, and it's actually going to sit pretty much exactly where we want to put it. Now the only thing we need to add to this piece will actually be, there's going to be a front top piece that we're going to actually add a bit of detailing to and stuff like that. So next time we do this, I will show you guys what we do for that little bit, because I think I have all the stuff we need for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed checking this out. Say hi and say thank you for her helping and being my test dummy for this. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys again next time, and have fun. Give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and keep gaming.